There's something deeply poetic about imagining Clint Eastwood standing beside a roaring World War II warbird, its polished aluminum skin reflecting decades of history and legacy. Known for his timeless presence both on and off screen, Eastwood represents a bridge between eras, making the idea of him owning a meticulously restored vintage fighter aircraft feel almost inevitable. These machines were not just tools of war, but symbols of courage, innovation, and raw mechanical beauty that defined an entire generation. Picture a fully restored North American P-51 Mustang, its engine roaring to life with a thunderous growl that echoes across an open airfield. The aircraft, often considered one of the greatest piston-engine fighters ever built, carries with it stories of dogfights and daring missions. In the hands of a collector like Eastwood, it would be less about combat and more about preservation, keeping alive the spirit of aviation's golden age. The craftsmanship behind such a restoration is nothing short of extraordinary, involving years of painstaking work to return every rivet and panel to its original glory. For someone like Eastwood, who has spent decades perfecting his craft in filmmaking, there's a parallel appreciation for the precision and dedication required to bring such an aircraft back to life. It's not just ownership, it's stewardship of history. Flying a vintage warbird is an entirely different experience compared to modern aviation. There are no digital displays or automated systems to rely on, only raw skill and instinct. The pilot becomes one with the machine, feeling every vibration and subtle shift in the air. It's easy to imagine Eastwood valuing that authenticity, that connection to something real and unfiltered in an increasingly digital world. Beyond the thrill of flight, these aircraft serve as moving museums, often appearing in air shows where they captivate audiences of all ages. The sight of a P-51 slicing through the sky is enough to send chills down the spine, a reminder of both the beauty and the cost of history. For Eastwood, whose films often explore themes of legacy and morality, such an aircraft would carry profound symbolic weight. There's also a cinematic quality to these warbirds that aligns perfectly with Eastwood's career. From sweeping aerial shots to intense battle sequences, the visual presence of a World War II fighter is unmatched. Owning one would feel like possessing a living prop from a film that never truly ended, a story still being told every time the engine ignites. Maintenance of such an aircraft is a demanding endeavor, requiring a dedicated team of experts and a deep financial commitment. But for collectors driven by passion rather than practicality, this challenge is part of the appeal. It becomes a labor of love, a continuous journey of preservation and respect for the past. The emotional connection to these planes often runs deeper than expected. Each scratch, each repaired panel, tells a story of survival and resilience. For someone like Eastwood, who have portrayed countless complex characters, this layered history would likely resonate on a personal level. Owning a warbird is also about community, connecting with other enthusiasts who share a reverence for aviation history. Airfields become gathering places where stories are exchanged and legends are kept alive. In this world, Eastwood wouldn't just be a Hollywood icon, he'd be a fellow guardian of history. Ultimately, the idea of Clint Eastwood owning a vintage World War II fighter isn't just believable, it feels almost destined. It represents a fusion of artistry, history, and raw power, capturing the essence of both the man and the machine in a way that feels timeless. If the warbird represents raw power and visceral history, then a classic executive jet captures a different kind of mastery, one rooted in elegance, ambition, and the quiet confidence of technological progress. The legendary Dassault Falcon 20 stands as a defining symbol of this transformation, emerging in the 1960s as one of the first business jets to truly reshape private air travel. For someone like Clint Eastwood, whose career evolved alongside major shifts in cinema and culture, the Falcon 20 feels like a natural extension of that same era of reinvention. When the Falcon 20 first took to the skies, it wasn't just another aircraft. It was a bold statement about the future of mobility. It allowed executives, creative, and visionaries to move across continents with unprecedented efficiency, bypassing the rigid schedules of commercial aviation. In that sense, it represented freedom not just in a physical sense, but in a philosophical one, aligning perfectly with Eastwood's long-standing image as a figure of independence and control. The aircraft's design is a masterclass in balance, blending aerodynamic efficiency with understated luxury. Its slender fuselage and swept wings give a silhouette that remains timeless even decades later. Unlike many modern jets that prioritize function over form, the Falcon 20 carries an artistic quality, almost as if it were sculpted rather than engineered. This aesthetic harmony mirrors a kind of storytelling Eastwood is known for: clean, deliberate, and deeply intentional. Inside the cabin, the experience is entirely different from today's ultra-modern interiors. There's a warmth and character to vintage design that can't be replicated with contemporary materials. Polished wood accents, plush seating, and carefully crafted layouts create an atmosphere that feels both intimate and refined. It's not just about comfort. It's about presence, about feeling connected to an era when luxury meant craftsmanship rather than automation. Flying in a Falcon 20 also carries a certain rhythm, a cadence that contrasts sharply with the hyper-efficiency of modern jets. The engines produce a distinctive sound, a steady hum that becomes part of the journey rather than fading into the background. For someone like Eastwood, who has always embraced pacing and silence as powerful tools in his films, this slower, more deliberate experience would likely hold a unique appeal. Beyond its role as a private jet, the Falcon 20 has lived many lives. It has been adapted for cargo missions, scientific research, and even specialized military operations. This versatility speaks to the robustness of its design, proving that true innovation isn't just about novelty, but about longevity. It's the kind of enduring relevance that parallels Eastwood's own career, which has remained impactful across generations. There's also a cinematic aura surrounding the aircraft that makes it feel larger than life. The way it cuts through the sky, the way light reflects off its fuselage at altitude. It all feels like something out of a carefully composed film scene. One could easily imagine it featuring the story not as a mere object, but as a symbol of transition, of characters moving between worlds both physically and emotionally. Maintaining such an aircraft is no small feat. It requires dedication, expertise, and a willingness to embrace the complexities of vintage engineering. Parts must often be sourced from specialized suppliers, and every system demands meticulous attention. Yet, for those who truly value these machines, this process becomes part of the narrative. It transforms ownership into a relationship, one built on respect and continuity. There's a deeper symbolism embedded in owning a jet like the Falcon 20. It represents a moment in time when the world felt both larger and more accessible, when the boundaries of distance were beginning to dissolve. For Eastwood, whose films often explore themes of change and the passage of time, this connection would likely resonate on a profound level. The Falcon 20 also embodies a certain restraint, a refusal to be overly extravagant despite its capabilities. It doesn't rely on flash or excess to make its impression. Instead, it commands attention through quiet confidence, much like Eastwood himself. This alignment between machine and persona adds another layer of meaning, turning the aircraft into more than just a mode of transport. In the broader context of aviation history, the Falcon 20 marks a pivotal shift toward personalization and autonomy in air travel. It helped pave the way for an entire industry, influencing the design and philosophy of countless aircraft that followed. Owning one today is like holding a piece of that turning point, a reminder how far aviation has come and how those early innovations continue to shape the present. There's also an emotional dimension to flying such an aircraft that goes beyond technical performance. It's about the feeling of stepping into a space that has witnessed decades of journeys, conversations, and experiences. Every flight becomes part of that ongoing story, adding new layers to an already rich legacy. For Eastwood, the appeal of such a jet would likely extend beyond practicality. It would be about connection to history, to craftsmanship, and to a way of experiencing the world that feels increasingly rare. In an age dominated by speed and convenience, the Falcon 20 offers something different, a sense of depth, of intentionality, of travel as an experience rather than a mere necessity. The juxtaposition between the Falcon 20 and a World War II warbird creates a fascinating narrative contrast. One represents the intensity of conflict and survival, while the other reflects the optimism and expansion that followed. Together, they tell a broader story about human ingenuity, about how technology evolves in response to both struggle and aspiration. Ultimately, the Dassault Falcon 20 stands as more than just a vintage aircraft. It's a symbol of an era defined by bold ideas and refined execution. In the hands of someone like Clint Eastwood, it becomes something even more meaningful. A bridge between past and present, a reflection of a life shaped by vision, discipline, and an enduring respect for the art of the journey.